today by welcoming Senator Malcolm Roberts with a big FNQ welcome. I was about to say I'm not sure where he is, but knowing Malcolm is out there talking to the people because that's what a good politician does. No, I did realise he was coming behind me.
Not that short.
Senator Roberts was actually asked to speak in Brisbane and he turned it down because he'd already given me his word that he would be here. He didn't go for the huge crowds, he didn't go for the media, didn't go for anything. He actually kept his word. There's not many politicians that actually do that these days. Before we start today, we do need to do things a little bit differently this time, so we just have a quick message from the QPS.
Thanks, folks. Those doing the march today, my name's Senior Sergeant Marty Oxon, I'm the front district tactician. The police are here primarily just to make sure things run smoothly and for your safety. Okay, we're not so much worried about you as the protesters and the marchers. We just want to make sure if there's any protesters, we're able to deal with that. So we've got to continue to staff for that. Gina's got 3 first aid staff organised for today. They'll be marching at the front, middle and the rear. It's quite a warm day. Once we get marching and we're out from under the shade, it'll get warmer again. So if you're not feeling well, I just ask if you look to make contact with one of the first aid staff. We've also arranged for the the QAS to be on standby at the hospital. So if anybody's feeling not unwell, just let the police know. They'll contact me and I'll liaise with the hospital. They're on standby over there. Sorry? You've also got 10 marshals today. So the marshals are in your high visibility vests. There's a reason why you've got marshals. If we end up having a high risk incident or a high risk person, the marshals are there to help liaise with the QPS to make you safe. So if we get a high risk situation, what we would ask is that you seek those larger buildings so that we can get you into lockdown areas. So we're talking about the Hilton, Harbour Lights, the RSL, those types of properties. So the larger properties all on the Esplanade. And can we also just, if you see anybody who looks as though they're going to cause trouble, can you just alert one of the marshals or the police so that we can have staff deal with them before it actually becomes an incident itself. Other than that, we'll let you have a great day. Hopefully it all runs smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you. He's a little bit taller than Malcolm and myself, so the microphone didn't quite reach. I just want to explain too, just the mix-up with the dates. I know that the last rally we mentioned the 29th, and Monica Smith, who was the organiser of the whole event, changed the date to the 30th. So then we had to change everything to the 30th, and then with the Sydney one happening yesterday, apparently there was some hiccups with the police and the council. Then they had to come back to the 29th. So we realistically could have had the march on the 29th, and I'm terribly sorry because I actually do feel that that has affected our numbers, but we promise we will do better next time. As I said last time, if there are any undesirables, please just leave them alone, let the police deal with it. I don't want any sneaky media, and we do have Cairns Post here today, but I don't want any photos taken that may give the wrong idea on what this event is all about. At the last rally, a number of you generously donated dollars for us to advertise this rally. And we printed 200 corklutes, we printed 500 flyers, we went out and bought the stakes, we put them all together. It took us hours of work, and I thank my volunteers for that, and I thank you for your donations. It was heartbreaking though. We actually spent about 6 hours on a Sunday putting those corklutes out, and within 2 hours I started getting reports that the corklutes were being stolen. And over the next days, Every time one of our volunteers went down a different street, they were all gone. And it was devastating. And I've got to be honest, if it was my own money, it wouldn't have been so bad. It's the fact that you guys put your money into that and people came along and stole it. And I'm so sorry, but that's the world we live in at the moment.
Shows you how scared they are, I suppose.
It does show how scared they are, and I'm very happy about that too. But we actually did have corklutes right through the north side down to Aloomba, the north side, sorry, up to Cow Bay, the south side down to Aloomba. We had them all through the Tablelands and we had them all through Cairns. I did have a little gut feeling that was going to happen, so I held 40 corklutes back in my garage, and we actually went out on Friday and put the remaining 40 corklutes up. Overnight, majority of those were stolen as well. So what we did, we actually do what you do in Cairns when a crime's committed, is you jump on Cairns crime alerts and you say, this has been stolen, this is what happened. Now, I didn't put that post up because Cairns Crime Alerts has an issue with me from the crime forums that I did across Cairns. Apparently you can put crimes up, but you can't advertise solutions for the problem. So we have a bit of an issue. So I had one of my volunteers put this post up, and somebody else must have approved it because they allowed it to stay there for 24 hours, and that has 100,000 following. So we were hoping that would actually, a negative kind of turned into a positive. I would like to say a massive thank you to everyone who has offered their time for this rally. We've had the billboards that were donated, both in printing and the actual signage, banners hanging from hotels in town. Just the time and effort that goes into this is massive. I couldn't do this on my own, and I really just want to give a massive thank you and a massive clap to all the volunteers that help us actually put this together. So please, show your appreciation. And it definitely doesn't work without all of you. I want to thank each and every one of you for standing proud, standing up for your country, standing up for your culture, our values, and our children. Thank you. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! The Labor government, now we're down to the hard stuff. The Labor government are failing us on so many levels. Although I'll extend that to the Liberals and the Greens. Many people sadly are not paying attention, and I hear these lines often. They're not hurting enough. They haven't lost enough, but they will. Because you can't ignore this anymore. Every day it is becoming more and more in our face. The hypocrisy, the reality and the corruption, we're seeing it more and more every day. I will leave mass immigration to Senator Roberts to talk about, but I do want to mention this. This morning I was watching a march. Not our wonderful march standing up for Australia. I did watch that as well, by the way, which was amazing and fantastic. But a big march that was led by a young Islam girl of probably around 10 to 12 years old that took place in the streets of Sydney. She had a microphone, she was well spoken, wearing her jihad, and she was calling for the destruction of Israel and the death of the Jews. Regardless of where you stand on this issue, this is hate speech. This is inciting violence. And this is not Australian culture. Given that the police were there guiding and protecting this march means that it was an approved march. Why is the Albanese government allowing these marches to happen? By allowing this, the Albanese government is creating the hate and division, not stopping it. These people should not be living in Australia, and these are the very people that should be sent back to their own countries. I also watched the Muslim Brotherhood, and I just want to explain, I'm not picking on one part of it here because it's so big, but this one is concerning a lot of people, and I know because I speak to a lot of people, so I'm just sharing what I've seen and why people are so concerned about it. I watched a Muslim Brotherhood leader explaining in his words that they failed to conquer Europe by force for 700 years, and now they infiltrate peacefully with help from naive Western governments. Yep. He says what we have been trying to do for the past 20 years now the West is doing for us for free and even paying for it. He said Allah permitted them to live off the infidel while he is subduing them. They can live off the host country where their goal is to eventually eradicate the host culture and supplant it with Islam. Now, this isn't hidden. Their goals have never really been a secret, and yet the Albanese government continues to let them in. Why? When it is evident what is happening in other countries, why are they continuing to let them in, and why have they not started sending them back? The leaders of their own countries admit the ones being let in would be in jail if they were back in their own countries for their extreme views. Not only is the government allowing it, they have now given the Islamic Council of Australia $27 million of our tax dollars while they promote jihad against Israel and openly support Hamas, a terrorist organisation. This is not a government that loves the Australian people. This is a government that is working against its own people and against its own country. And then we have the push for digital ID, the social media ban that has nothing to do with the safety of our kids. No government has the right to take parenting decisions away from the parents, and what our kids can watch and see is the right of a parent. It is not the right of the Albanese government, but we all know it really isn't about any of this. It is the start of an agenda for control. No government that has had as many security breaches, including into our national security and 63 government officers, that was as recent as 2024, serious breaches, 44 of these breaches considered to be criminal. No government would then ask their nation of people they cared about to put all their personal data, including bank accounts, into their hands with a digital ID when they can't even protect their own data. They portray that this is for our safety. Last time I heard that, it was about an injection, and that was definitely not for our safety. The best thing for our safety right now would be if the government stood down and made way for leaders that actually love our country, protect our country, our culture and our people. And on that note, I would like to welcome to our FNQ picnic table stage Senator Malcolm Roberts. Let's give him the best FNQ welcome we can. I do want to share an experience that I had with Malcolm during the floods in Ayton and Dagara when they lost their homes, they lost their pets, one man lost his wife, many of them lost everything they had. It was like a war zone. And I was up there trying to help, and I was banging my head against the brick wall on every government department that sent up people that under insurance purposes of the government insurance could not do the jobs that these people needed doing. It was mind-blowing and it was so frustrating. So I gave Malcolm a call. I said, Malcolm, I need your help because I'm trying to do this and I don't know where to turn. Malcolm not only gave me advice, he gave me a donation to buy the supplies, and he said, I want to help. I said, I want to come up. I want to do a trip. I said, that's all right, but if you're coming up, you're going to need a four-wheel drive because I'm going to fill it up. So he did. He hired a four-wheel drive. He did the trip. These are about 16 to 18-hour days. They weren't short days. And he drove all the way up. He was with us every step of the way, handing donations to the hubs, handing donations to the people. He worked with us all day. He never stopped. And on the way back, I think we left there, I don't know, it was probably about 11 o'clock at night, I think, by the time we left. And we get to McLeod River, and the water's over. And Malcolm was actually due to do a function here in Cairns the next day, so he had to get back. And I felt so bad, and I'm saying, Malcolm, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. He goes, Gina, shit happens. So he didn't do that either for publicity. He didn't do it for a media opportunity because there was none there. He simply did it because he cares about the people. And I am so proud to stand with you, Malcolm, and you've shown me who you are. I couldn't be prouder.
Look at all the proudest Aussies who love Australia. Look at them. Look at all the Aussie flags. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Why did everyone respond? It's a very important question. Why did you respond? Because we all love Australia. Exactly. And especially because our identity is as Australians. When I go overseas, I'm sure every person in this community right now would do the same. I introduce myself as I'm Malcolm Roberts, my family name. And then I say, I'm Australian. Australia is tied up with my identity, with everyone's identity right here, right now. So first of all, thank you. Thank you to Gina Court and her wonderful helpers, especially the organisers. I'm going to do a prepared speech because there's so much to cover and I'll be here for hours if I don't. But I want to thank everyone for being here. It's really important that people show our love for Australia. For 30 years, Pauline Hanson has warned Australians the life we had growing up was slipping away. Remember that? Yeah. 30 years ago. For 5 years, my Senate office team and I have led the way in establishing mass migration, invasion, and record homelessness as the key threats to our country. The bigger threat to our country, though, is crony capitalism. The billionaires that run the world came to Australia under Prime Minister Robert Menzies, Liberal Prime Minister Robert Menzies, who allowed 25% of Australian manufacturing to be sold to foreign owners who promptly moved that manufacturing offshore to low-wage countries. That's where the rot started. In the Australia we knew, though, there was always a parent at home and a sense of community. Remember that? In the Australia we knew, immigration grew this country. From Europeans after the war to Vietnamese after that war. People came here and rewarded our beautiful country with their loyalty, hard work and endeavour. Lifting themselves up, and in so doing, lifting all who are here. We could see those days in the 50s, 60s and 70s. Greek, Italian, British, South American, Vietnamese, Islanders made their way into state and federal parliaments seeking to protect the Australia for which their families came here, to protect you and your way of life, to protect us all. I hope that the changing landscape, the political landscape in the next year will bring together Australian patriots of all backgrounds and races to save our beautiful country from the greed of crony capitalists and the tyranny of globalist politicians and the tired old parties, Liberal, Labor, Greens and Teals. The Teals are already tired and they're only new. And from David Littleproud in the Nationals, who's really a Teal. One Nation stands against globalist, crony capitalists and their foot soldiers in the Liberals, Labor, Greens and Teals. They're traitors who have sold their souls for wealth and power and no longer care about the Australians they're supposed to represent. They no longer care about you. They no longer care about us. They haven't for a very long time. They ignore Australians sleeping under bridges. Every main city in Queensland, from Cairns through to Coolangatta, has got people sleeping homeless. Every major town. And we should be the world's wealthiest state, even wealthier than California. Sleeping under bridges in tents and cars. Working families unable to afford a home. They ignore the small business owners losing everything, as insane as net zero policies drive businesses into the red. It's happening before our eyes. While some businesses stay afloat with subsidies to the corporate mates, subsidies for which you and I pay. It's complete bullshit. Albanese and his party backers are as far into that trough as the Liberals were and the Teals want to be. Government in this country, government in the West, is now all about transfer money from the people to large corporations. That's all it is. They ignore the suffering their policies are causing because they're globalists, and that's what globalists do. They take from you, they take from us, and they give it to themselves. And foreign-owned insurance companies, retailers, supermarkets and compliant regulators, racketeers fleecing hard-working Australian businesses. Have a look at the ownership structure of Coles, Woolies and our insurance companies. These captured politicians are quislings, betrayers, and have created the tools of tyranny to defend their wealth transfer. This is happening in Canberra right now. Your government, our government. Then we add what Gina touched on. E-safety commissar to silence debate. A digital ID to keep your social credit score. To deperson opponents as in China. A social media age restriction to ensure children only hear one point of view, the politician's point of view. Replacing our identity as Australians with a government decreed globalist identity. Australian democracy is on life support. And this is happening right through the West, but we're concerned about here. Thanks to you, though, marches like this have them terrified. Because before their plan of betrayal is complete, we the people realise the water around us is boiling, don't we?
Yes.
Congratulations for coming today, and thank God for your wisdom and awareness. Your voice, your participation in the political debate is more important now than at any time in our history. We are a democracy. We are a constitutional monarchy. We are not a monarchy. The king or queen in a monarchy rule. They do not rule us. We are a constitutional monarchy. We are basically a republic. The top sovereign entity in our country is the Constitution. We're ruled by laws. And the prime responsibility in the Constitution is the people of Australia. It is our Constitution. It's not the government's Constitution. It's not the King and Queen's Constitution. It is Australia's Constitution. It's made by Australians. That is fact. When we have been so blessed with a country so rich in the resources, never really been attacked apart from skirmish at Darwin, people have been taking it for granted. The key item in a democracy is active participation by all the people. Congratulate yourselves because you are now active participants in democracy. That is fundamental. We have slipped into passive democracy, which means that we're being ruled even though we don't know it. Passive democracy slips into apathy, which is where we're headed. And then that slips into tyranny, which is where we're headed. The tyranny won't be tanks and guns and bullets, it may be, but the tyranny is by laws that are meant to control and transfer wealth. Can you see that going on?
Yes.
One Nation is leading with commitment to repeal all these pieces of legislation and introduce constitutional changes to guarantee your freedom, including your freedom of speech, which is under threat. We saw that in COVID. Ask any of the doctors. Freedom of assembly and your right to defend yourself in your own home with castle law, and yes, with a weapon. Australian wealth must stay here in Australia, creating jobs. Let me be clear though. What One Nation will not do is to confuse skin colour with patriotism and loyalty. Traitorous, white politicians have voted in Parliament to make foreign capital wealthier and everyday Australians poorer and less free. More enslaved. That's what they're doing. They've sold you out while pretending to represent you. Sold you out while pretending to be your voice. To what was the White Australia Brigade, let me say, the world's crony capitalists are all white and almost all male. Their tokenistic campaigns like net zero, transgenderism, DEI, feminism, and their war on masculinity stop at the door of their palaces of power in London, Geneva, New York, Washington, and Zurich. The rules never apply to the people who make them. Ever notice that? Instead of race and skin colour, we must see character and patriotism. And I can see it here in abundance. One Nation was born of the same Australia you all came out to defend today. We all came out to defend today. 30 years ago, Pauline Hanson called her party One Nation for a reason. Pauline saw all of this coming. She was the first to call out Agenda 21 in 1996. In my first speech in the Senate in 2016, I said we must exit UN. We must stop implementing Agenda 21, which Howard implemented. I'm very, very proud to say the One Nation policy includes exit the UN, stop Agenda 21, and don't have anything to do with the World Economic Forum. Paris Agreement, we already want to pull out. We never wanted to sign, we're the only ones that pull out. Let me just track back a minute. You've heard about the Liberals and the Nationals claiming to abandon net zero? Yeah. It's rubbish. Yeah. We're the only ones saying stop net zero. We're the only ones saying pull out of Paris. The Nationals, what they did was they pretended to pull out, but they still got carbon dioxide targets. Essential trace gas, natural and essential for all life on the planet. They've still got targets, which means they're still net zero. It's just that they've delayed them a few years, and they got the headlines they wanted. They're lying. Now the Liberals got the same headlines, they're lying. There's only one party who wants to pull out of net zero. And by the way, and that's us. And by the way, why are the Nationals and the Liberals now so keen to fool you into thinking they're pulling out of net zero?
Because of One Nation.
Because of One Nation telling the truth.
The only reason because of you guys. Otherwise they wouldn't say nothing.
Correct. The One Nation will defend the Australian ideal. First of all, no unelected global government or global identity. We are our own country. We are beholden to no one overseas. Not one thing that they can do can be forced on Australians until it goes through Parliament. So the UN, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization have got no control over anyone in this country at all. The only way they can do that is by the Australian Federal Parliament passing it thanks to Labor and Liberal. One Nation will defend the Australian identity and the Australian ideal of one community, tell me if you disagree with any of this, made up of many different backgrounds, skin colours and religions, working together to lift up all Australians. You know, when I grew up, we didn't bother about where people come from. You would have been the same. We didn't care. We joke about them being wops and high ties and all that kind of stuff, but they gave as good as they got. Yet now our politicians are letting in people who hate Australia. Gina's absolutely right. Our politicians. Worse, we have politicians in Parliament who hate Australia. They hate Australia, not just the Greens. Our vision in One Nation has nothing to do with skin colour, birthplace or religion, within the limits of common sense. And I add that Islam is outside our limits. Burqas and Sharia have no place in this country. It's okay to bring your culture when you come in from overseas, provided it fits in with ours. And don't try to eliminate our Aussie culture to make room for another. I want to go back to multiculturalism. Bob Hawke introduced that, and John Howard implemented it. Both sides have done it. And Bob Hawke said, America is multicultural. Bullshit. I have travelled through all 50 states of America, studied there, worked there, and lived there. America, above all, they're proud of being American. They're not multicultural. They're proud of being American, number one. Then they're proud of being Japanese, Turkish, Afghanistan, Afghans, Muslims. They're all secondary. And America says, keep your background, keep your ethnicity, but number one, you are American. What they're trying to do in this country is to smash our culture until everyone complies with a global culture. Don't try to eliminate our Aussie culture to make room for another. Be very, very proud of being Australian. So if you've come here to leech off our welfare and take for yourselves the wealth of our forebears have created over hundreds of years, then One Nation has a very simple message about where you can go. Say it with me. Go back to where you came from. Go back to where you came from. Remigrate back home to your home if that's where you belong. Thank you. I want a fair go for those who created the wealth that crony capitalists are now stealing from us using globalist politicians and immigrants from countries that hate us. Politicians who hate us. Our politicians. One Nation will deport the 100,000 illegals and send home another 100,000 foreign students milking their status. 200,000 people out. And we adopt zero net migration. Means that we only allow in enough people to replace those who leave. That's it. No additional. And I actually want net negative, so the population declines for a while, until the infrastructure catches up and until we can sort through those who have come here during Albanese's mass immigration invasion. Immigration is not just about numbers. It is fundamentally about numbers. It's also about quality, skills, fit, compliance with our laws. It is thirdly about culture, which is extremely important. And something I'm ashamed to say that I didn't realise until fairly recently, It is about the fourth item, which is our identity. What they're doing is bringing in mass immigrants, and they're swamping our culture, swamping our identity, because they don't want you to have an Australian identity. There are two fundamental systems, structures for human civilization. The family, and they're trying to destroy that, you can see that, and the nation state, and they're trying to destroy that, put in place globalist, unelected socialist global governments. They're not my words. They're the globalist words themselves. The senior people of the UN have said that. That actual Australians, new Australians, amongst them stay. But if you didn't come here to contribute to be an Australian, then One Nation will drive you to the airport. Call it our airport Uber service. Our airport Uber service, but it's one way, of course. Like you, I came here today because I've had enough. I've had a gutful. We've been pushing this issue for 5 years now. We want our Australia back. We want it back. We don't care if you're dark-skinned like James, white-skinned like me, anything in between. We do not care. We welcome all Australians. But we want our identity back. And we can see what you bastards are doing. We all want to keep our Australian identity and heritage as Australians. And thank you so much for coming out today.
Malcolm, I don't even know how to put into words sometimes how grateful we are that you stand in Parliament. I spent a little bit of time in Parliament last week. I think it was the most frustrating 2 days of my life. I was actually there when they put the 7-day ban on Pauline. And to sit there, a person like me, and actually have to keep my mouth shut in that room, I can tell you, it's one of the most difficult things I have ever done. I probably will be louder next time I'm down there, but please invite me again. But let's just give another massive thank you to Senator Malcolm Roberts. Show our appreciation. So our next speaker is Madison Correa, who a lot of you will have heard her before. She's 31 years old, very passionate. And I'm so grateful that Madison actually gets up and speaks, because at 31 she gives a perspective of what they're going through. And I've got to be honest, every time she speaks I actually end up with tears in my eyes, because she's the same age as my daughter. So please welcome her courage.
So I'll just start off by saying I'm actually 30. Making me older. But thank you everybody for coming out today. I think it's a little bit bloody hot, but it's good to see a lot of familiar faces here. Now, I stand here today because something inside me has been hurting for a really long time, and I can no longer pretend to be okay and that I don't feel this. I love this country and I love the way I grew up here. I love the sense of freedom and stability that I once felt was so normal. But over the past few years, I've watched Australia change faster than I ever imagined that it could. I speak today from a place of honesty, not hatred, from awareness, not anger, and from concern, not division. Because when I say that mass immigration is eroding our foundations, I'm not speaking from theory. I'm speaking from what I've seen with my own eyes. When I visited Brisbane recently to visit family, the change hit me like a wave. Sorry, that's a bit emotional. The density, the congestion, the feeling of being crowded in by a population growing faster than our ability to absorb it. I remember sitting in the car and I felt so overwhelmed, and my mind was reeling, because the city that I once grew up in, I didn't recognise it. The Australian Bureau of Statistics recorded more than 457,000 overseas arrivals in one recent year. That is the biggest population surge in our country's history. That's more than the entire population of Cairns 2 times over added in 1 year. And when numbers like that arrive in such a short time, the pressure becomes visible everywhere. The cracks start to form and we all start to feel it and see it. I'm not against people coming here, as I'm sure not a lot of other people are against that. What I am against is the speed and the scale. My concern is how quickly everything is changing and how unprepared we are to handle it. And I know I'm not imagining this. Queensland alone grew by over 144,000 people, pushing our hospitals, schools, roads and houses past breaking point. We're told this is progress, but what I see and what we all see and we feel is the pressure, the strain, families struggling to survive under the weight of decisions that we never agreed to. Housing prices continue to skyrocket, rentals are disappearing, meanwhile, our infrastructure is collapsing under the record population growth. And while this is all happening, something else is growing: surveillance. More cameras in every corner, more monitoring, more control. Every time I return to Brisbane, there are new cameras watching, new signs, and new restrictions. It feels like the start of something none of us asked for or agreed to. A future where we are crowded, monitored, and forgotten. Sometimes I sit with all of this and I do get very overwhelmed, as I'm sure a lot of other people do. Because I fear what it might look like in 10 years' time, what my country might look like. Especially if this pace continues. I fear losing the beauty I grew up with. I fear losing the safety and calm I want my future children to experience one day. I'm standing here because I care, as I know all of you are standing here because you care. Because we are wary of what is happening. We are awake to what is happening. And because I hope that by speaking up and us coming here together today, we can create a unity, which is what we need so desperately in these times. And I hope by speaking, you guys can go off and we can talk amongst the community and amongst other people and try to make them aware. Create that unity. We do not need the division that has been happening. I'm not speaking for any party and I'm not speaking for any group. I'm speaking from my heart, which I have done the last 2 times. I'm speaking for my country and my future, and with the hope that one day I can raise children in Australia that still feels like home. Thank you so much.
I think that hits us harder because a lot of us would have children around Maddie's age or maybe a little bit older. I have the 2. And my heart goes out to them because I know the world.
Go, Gina.
I know the country that I grew up in. I know the freedom that I had. And they will never ever experience that. Any child that was born into this technology age, you go to the cafes, you watch them not talking to each other, all 4 of them at a table will sit there and not talk to each other, and I challenged that one day. And I ask you to do this. I'm pretty out there, so I'm not backwards in coming forwards. Some of you might have noticed that. But I actually went up to a table that had a group of teenagers and they were all sitting on their phones, and I was sitting at another table just having a coffee doing some work on my own. And they hadn't said a word the whole time they'd been there to each other. And I went up and asked them about it. I probably just asked them about them in general so they didn't think I was some weird person. But I did ask them, I said, can I ask, why do you go out for a meal together or a coffee together or a drink together and you don't actually talk to each other? I said, because you might as well just do that from home. I said, so you've made the effort to come here. I said, can I challenge you? I challenge you for 10 minutes. It's all I'm asking you to do. For 10 minutes, can I challenge you to put your phones down? And they did. And I left that place about 25 minutes, half an hour later, and they were still sitting there laughing, talking, and they'd forgotten all about their phones. But it's so sad that that's a sign of the times that we live in. So that's why the things that Maddie says, they really upset me, because my kids are 1 year older than Maddie, one of them. And it's really heartbreaking. They'll never have that childhood that we had. I'm going to digress for just a moment. I know this has nothing to do with mass immigration or digital ID, but I just have to bring this up. I went to Canberra this week and I was on an early morning flight home, and I find it hard to switch my mind off, especially I guess coming back from Canberra. I find it hard sometimes to switch my mind off from all this stuff that's going on because there's just so much. Every morning I get the updates and I get angry pretty much every morning, to be honest. But I was looking out the window on this flight and I was actually looking at our country. The mountains, the trees. I don't know if you've ever done that in a plane, like just actually taken a breath and appreciated how beautiful it really is and had rivers running through it, the reefs. It was beautiful. And I thought I've got to remember to actually just remind everybody to step outside of what we're living every now and then and take a breath. And that's exactly what I was doing until from the window of the plane, I actually saw a cluster of those useless white propeller poles they call wind turbines. And of course my moment of peace was gone. How hypocritical is this government when it comes to these wind turbines? They have asbestos in them. So they will make you pay thousands of dollars extra to get men with special licenses and little masks and all the rest of it to safely remove the asbestos from your properties. And they charge us higher power prices, raising our cost of living and taxes to pay foreign corporations, namely China, a shit ton of money for a propeller on a pole that will never produce enough power, and they contain asbestos. We actually pay China to bring asbestos into the country. Like seriously, did they not check? Was there not a materials of what these things are made of? Was there not a non-disclosure statement? Was there not a contract? At the end of the day, if I fly somewhere, I go through an X-ray machine so that every part of my body is scanned and I can't hide anything anywhere where the sun doesn't shine, and they can bring in 150 metre long turbines with asbestos in them. And will there be any accountability? Probably not. It's China, it's Albanese's new best friend. You seriously can't make any of this stuff up. It's insane. Now, before it actually gets too much hotter, we are going to start on this march, but I just want to say a few things. The next march will be on January 26th, and it will not change because that is Australia Day. So I promise you there will be no changes. But we are going to apply to council to actually run some markets, add some barbecues, just get the permissions that we need from council to actually make the Australia Day event bigger. Because I don't know about you, but I would really love to spend my Australia Day with all of you patriotic Australians that actually love our country on Australia Day. So I hope you are here. We don't have the full details yet. We don't know whether it will be at 11 or 12, so please even just come earlier and hang out. But we will be publishing all of that on the One Nation FNQ supporters page. This is James, by the way, Senator Roberts. James is actually, and has been for many years, one of my core volunteers. And it's so funny when people come in to the polling booths and they go, "Oh, you racist party," and then James just gives them a call. It's very funny. Quite priceless, actually. In the next week, so those details will be on the One Nation FNQ supporters page, but in the next week, because these rallies aren't about One Nation, and we did that because we were worried that they would actually hack the rally sites. But now we will set up another page. It will be called Cairns Region Rallies. So please keep an eye out for that over the next week, and we will get that set up. We'll announce it also in that other page if you're in there, so you will see it. But if you're not on that other page, please keep an eye out for that page that's being set up, Cairns Region Rallies. I would also like to ask for volunteers for the next rally. It's easier to set these ones, well it's not easy, but we've had enough help to set these ones up. But when you've got markets and you've got all those sorts of things happening, it actually gets a bit bigger. So please, if you've got any time, And we're also looking for more permanent ways to display the rally details. So we've got a few ideas already. Again, they do cost money, so if you can help out in any way, that's great. So on this one, we are needing to do things a little bit differently because council set up their market stalls in City Place, which is our main route to get to Rusty's. So I'm just letting you know we will be doing a completely different route this time, but we will have the breeds, which is really good. And I do want to mention that as we are going to be passing a lot of family areas and there will be kids, there's one chant that I'm asking, please can we not chant? The one that says, Albo is a... So if you don't mind, because we're going to family, and it's probably not a chant that I'm ever going to do again, I've kind of got to rise above that much doing what I'm doing. So I apologise for that for last time. The council has also imposed a 70 decibel limit on the sound, so we may not be able to be as loud as normal through the sound system, but I actually don't know how loud 70 decibels is. A huge thank you to Dave Anderson too. Dave Anderson spoke to me yesterday. We were all down at Hinchinbrook yesterday doing the polling booths, and he says to me on the way, I've got together some snags, some bread, some drinks and things for all the volunteers that actually helped put this together. So there is a barbecue here. Malcolm Robertson will be hanging around for a little while. So if you guys want to join us, if anyone's got a snack they want to throw on the barbie, please feel welcome. We are going to stick around for, I don't know, maybe about an hour. So everyone's welcome to stay. So Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Okay, give us about 5 minutes to get sorted and we will be getting ready to march. We've just got to get a few things organised. Thanks everyone!